When Plato has Socrates ban the poets in his ideal city in the Republic, what is the actual argument that we are to understand in this often misunderstood section of the Republic? When you read this key moment, if your understanding is simply that Plato straight up hates poetry and the poets, you're making a mistake that no scholar of Plato actually asserts and affirms in today's scholarship. You miss a couple of core key insights into the actual argument that Plato is giving. So first, Plato is actually acknowledging and recognizing the power of poetry, the power of art and drama as a teaching mechanism. Plato simply rejects the moral teaching, the message that poetry, both in his time and prior to him, is actually communicating. And this leads us to the more fundamental critique of art and poetry in this section of the Republic. What Plato is actually arguing is the moral message of the poets, the moral message of poetry, the epistemic claims of the poets, and the epistemic claims of poetry is incorrect, that it is false. Plato is therefore telling us, through Socrates, that art, drama, and poetry have the power to move the human soul. This is something that Plato's philosophy, his philosophia, is also attempting to do. And in order to avoid the pitfalls and the dangers of false teaching, as represented by the poets and poetry, Socrates bans them and eliminates them from the city. But again, it doesn't actually make sense if you study Plato carefully that Plato holds the poets in very low regard. After all, it is two poets in the symposium who have the closer truth to philosophy in that dialogue. Furthermore, Plato's own dialogues are dependent upon poetic and dramatic techniques, forms, and literary elements and devices. Instead, it all comes down to the medium is the message, and the message is also here deeply important. Plato is trying to avoid what he deems as the false message of the poets, and to counter that, he offers philosophy in place of them.